Hey, what's up, people? Look who's back. So, I did a video on this tape player and recorder recently, and in that video, we kind of took a look at the tape transport mechanism because it had some issues with playback, and I had mentioned that there was probably an issue with the pinch roller, which is what I originally suspected, and it ended up being like a combination of the pinch roller not exactly squeezing the capstan little pin there properly, and also I had a little bit too much lubricant in the slip clutch for the take-up hub. And so we kind of did a few things there and got it working somewhat okay, but it still was not 100%. So if you're interested in watching that video, I'll leave a link to it up here, and then you can click on that and get caught up with everything I did on this. But just to as a quick recap, we needed to replace the belts, or at least I said that we're going to be replacing the belts, but I had to get a hold of some belts, and I've got those right here. So I ended up finding these on eBay. You can buy packs of 50 at a time, and it comes with various assorted sizes. And the funny thing is that the seller that I found these at, they had a single pack of 50 for it was $8 something. Or if you bought 2 packs, you could get each for a 4 or something. I'd have to go back and look at the exact pricing, but I was like, for a few more cents, I can get 100 and pay up pretty much almost the same thing as a single pack. So it's kind of a no-brainer. And now I got extra belts for other things. Not that I have anything else in mind at the moment that desperately needs any belts, but actually I can think of a couple things. I don't know, we'll see. But anyways, I've got a few belts here now, and some of these should be able to replace the old ones inside of the tape transport. And in the interest of saving time, I've already kind of removed the screws from the bottom of this thing, so we can just easily open it up. Oh, there is one thing that I noticed while I was editing the previous video regarding the pinch roller, and I think we're going to take a look at that today. I realized that the spring, even though I tried to stretch it out a little bit so that I could squeeze the pinch roller a little bit more, it didn't quite seem like it was working properly. And I made a little observation there that I'll point out here once we take the transport back out. And I had already soldered all the wires back in the previous video, but I removed them all because I am going to have to take the tape transport out to see if my little theory that I got going on regarding the pinch roller is actually true or not. But anyways, just to quickly mention what it was, I think it's in the wrong position, and I totally didn't catch that previously. But as I said, I've already undone all the wiring to this. All I have to do is remove one screw from up here from this board, and then I can pull the board off to the side, and then we can continue with taking a look at that transport again and replacing the belts. The only belt that I'm not too concerned with is the one that goes from the take-up hub to the counter, because it really does not require a lot of friction to get that to rotate. So the only reason why I'm saying that is because that belt was a way thinner belt. I don't know the exact reason why they went with a way thinner belt. I don't know if putting on one of these slightly thicker belts is going to make a difference, because these are all 1 millimeter square belts, as were the ones that are here that I'm going to be replacing. That other one was maybe a half a millimeter. So I don't know if there's a specific reason why they went with that. And looks like the microphone will actually just kind of squeeze out of the... Yeah, it will. There we go. So I don't have to remove that LED right there. So here comes the transport. I got to release the... There we go, the door. Now, the thing I noticed was that we're actually resting the end of this little spring here that tensions the pinch roller, or that puts pressure on it to squeeze it up against the pin here. We're resting it against the side of this mount right here for the head. And I'm starting to think that maybe this was actually supposed to be in here. There's a small sort of a gap right here between the... we can see right how there's a little bit of a gap right there where this plastic part is. So I think that maybe it's actually supposed to be in there, and that would provide more pressure to the pinch roller to squeeze it up against the tape, and so that it kind of pinches up against the pin. So I mentioned that ever since I got this, it was problematic from the get-go. And I honestly do not remember who gave it to me or how I came across it, but it just never worked right from the beginning, and that's why I suspected that it was something wrong with the pinch roller. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to remove this pinch roller back out. And so that just comes off like that. I'm going to remove the spring from its little slot. And I will see if there's a way that I can get this side to rest up against the plastic first. All right, this looks promising. And I'm going to bring this spring back around, back into its slot right there. Ooh, that seems like it's way too tight. Ooh, that does not look right at all. Well, I guess it doesn't help that this kind of separated a bit. I'm going to try this again, but I'm going to try to hold the side here that's so I don't have to pull it up so much. All right, so it went underneath this spring, so I'm going to remove that for now. I don't want to damage this other spring in the process. Nope, that won't work because now it's too short, and when the play button gets pushed in, then this end here is able to clear that plastic piece. Well, while I'm in here, I guess I might as well replace these belts. So I got to find one that's about that size, and then I got to find one that's about the size of this one. All right, let's see. This right here looks way too big. And they're all mixed, so it's kind of hard to see what's what. I just got to kind of like pull some random ones out and check them up against the old ones. That one's too big. I should probably be setting these aside because I'm just mixing them back in here, so that's not helping me. Nope. Okay, I think this one here is going to do it. It's slightly smaller. Let's see if this one here is maybe slightly smaller. Yeah. This one's just slightly smaller, so I think I'm going to go with that one instead. And now I've got to find a replacement for this one. It's like a Goldilocks process here, just trying to find the size belt that's not too big and not too small. All right, I think we're going to go with this one right here. It's slightly smaller, but it's the only thing I found that was not too small, and it's not bigger than the original one, so we'll stick with that. And putting these back in is pretty much a straightforward process. We just got to go in reverse of how we took them off. That feels pretty grippy. I'm trying to like rotate the capstan here while just holding the drive pulley right there on the motor, and you can see that it really grips, so it's like trying to stretch before it slips. So definitely got some pretty good traction on those belts there, so that should be fine. Like I said, this tiny belt here, I mean, it doesn't look, other than kind of being a little wavy just from sitting around so much and getting just sort of like molded in the position it was at for years. It's not looking like cracked or anything. So I think I may just leave that alone. Well, let's see if I can find one that's about the same size. All right, so I found this one. It's a little bit smaller. We'll see how it fits. Might be a little on the tight side, not sure yet. Although one thing that I do notice here is how the pulley on the counter actually sits a little bit further this way than the hub right here on the supply reel side. So it's kind of, the belt's a little slanted over in that direction. But other than that, like, it doesn't feel like it's providing too much friction or anything. It feels fine. So I think maybe I'll just leave that new belt in there. Ooh, I just noticed something. Right there, we can see that there's a very tiny gap between the pinch roller and the pin. And so this pinch roller can still like sort of slide on there. So when there's a tape in between, it's enough to make both of them kind of like provide enough pressure in there so that it kind of works, but not entirely. And the thing that prevents the whole pinch roller assembly from going all the way down appears to be this little pawl right here. Now that appears to work in conjunction with the pause button. So when we push the pause button, we can see that it pushes down right there, and then it only comes back up that much. So now the pinch roller is completely separated from the pin. So now it's not going to be pinching the tape, and it cannot allow the or the tape is not going to continue like being pulled across. So maybe this pull right here is a little bit bent too much in that direction that it's not allowing the spring here to completely compress the pinch roller. So maybe I can kind of bend this out a little bit in this direction, and maybe then the spring will actually be able to push it up against the pin and provide more pressure. Let's see if that helps. So first of all, I'm going to remove pinch roller once again. And now I'm going to have to clean it again. It's looking a little dingy there. Let's take this off of pause right there. And so I'm going to try to grab this and just gently bend it over in this direction. I mean, it's not like I can do it too much. We're going to see that the plastic there is going to stop it. So, and I need to put this spring back in its place before I forget about it. Reassemble the thing and then realize that there's a screw or a spring laying down on the bench. All right, so I pulled that back a little bit. Let's see if it makes, or how much of a difference it actually makes. So here we go, hitting the play button. That looks like it's squeezing against it right there. So yeah, it's getting some traction. Make sure we don't have a gap there anymore though. So that's a bit better, but it still looks like it's just barely making contact right there. You can see right here when I push the pause, when I take it off pause, we can see how it just kind of just sort of touches it right there, but not very hard. Okay, that might actually work now. So before I was able to just stop the pinch roller like really easily because as we saw, it wasn't really making very much contact. So now that it seems to be squeezing up against it a little bit better, it looks like it's definitely a bit harder to stop. So now maybe it'll actually work a little better. Or maybe a lot better. So no, this is still not quite working right. We can see that on this tape where I have a lot of tape on the take-up side. The supply side here has a very little tape, but I can like easily just put a little bit of pressure on that and like it slows down. But if I put a little more pressure on the pinch roller and then I try to slow it down, it's a lot more difficult. I have to put like a lot of pressure on this side to be able to even like see a noticeable slowdown. So it still seems to be a problem with this. Well, since there doesn't appear to be much I can do about this spring inside of the transport, I measured the spring material and I have this other spring here that's just slightly bigger diameter than this is. Maybe if I make a similar spring out of this stuff, I can give that little pinch roller there a little bit more pressure against the pin. And I already kind of sort of sized this one up and it will actually fit on this pick just fine right there. So if I sort of like unravel some of this wire and wrap it around a couple times the way this one looks, I may be able to get a slightly better spring. So let's see what happens. Oh no, I went the wrong way to match the other spring. Well, I still got enough on this side here. I think I can redo it. All right, that's more like the original one. I just need to just shape it a little bit. All right. I think that's about as close as we're going to get. So since this is a slightly bigger diameter wire, you can tell that it's just a little tiny bit bigger, but it's not much. Give this thing a little bit of a bend on the very end. Like that. Make it somewhat similar to the original. All right, let's put this in and see how well it works. And it still fits in there, so that's good. Okay, let's hook the motor back up to 6 volts and see if it makes a difference. And we're going to put the same tape back in here and push play. Ooh, that's definitely a lot more difficult to stop now. Let's rewind this a little bit. For some reason when I'm trying to hold this up in the air, it's a little hard to get the tape or the play to engage. But yeah, this is definitely a lot better than it was. Before I would just barely like sort of touch it and it would slow it down. Now I have to squeeze on it quite a bit to be able to get it to slow down. And we can see right there that the pinch roller is still trying to advance. So I think that's actually going to work. All right, well, let's reassemble it and see how it sounds. Okay, and I've got it all just sort of minimally reassembled. One thing I did mention in the previous video that didn't seem to work was the voice-activated recording. Well, it turns out that that's actually not an issue. The thing is that the sensitivity is set with the same knob that you use for volume. And because I had been messing with it and the sensitivity was like up quite a bit, it was basically the noise here in the garage was just having it so that it would never stop recording. But if you actually turn it like all the way down and you try to record again, then it actually does kind of stop recording after a while of like not detecting any voice or anything. And so here is the original recording that I did when in the first video after I was I thought, you know, we had it kind of like squared away and everything. So if we play that back, we can kind of hear how it's all sort of warbly because the tape didn't have like a consistent speed. It's not doing the voice activation thing. Oh, let's rewind it a little bit. There he goes. And apparently it's not doing the voice activation thing. Be running the entire time. What happens if I cover the microphone? Nope. So yeah, so we can see right there how it was a kind of uneven sounding. Let's try to do a recording again, this time with just the way it is now. And let's see how much different it sounds. So I'm just going to start it from the beginning. I'm just waiting to see some like tape right there on the take-up rail. Okay, there we go. So we're just going to be doing a test recording on the CTR-121 AC battery cassette recorder with voice activation. We can see that the tape counter is counting up and the record battery LED is turned on. It appears to be maintaining a consistent speed. And we're going to stop this recording and play it back and see how it sounds. All right. Let's rewind that. Now let's see how this one sounds. Hopefully it doesn't sound all warbly like the other one did. I'm just waiting to see some like tape right there on the take-up rail. Okay, there we go. So we're just going to be doing a test recording on the CTR-121 AC battery cassette recorder with voice activation. We can see that the tape counter is counting up and the record battery LED is turned on. It appears to be maintaining a consistent speed. And we're going to stop this recording and play it back and see how it sounds. Wow, that was way better. So yeah, it appears that for whatever reason, this spring is just weak. But I mean, this would have been installed from like the factory. And like I said, it didn't appear that, I mean, it's like I first thought that, you know, maybe it was just in the wrong location, but it doesn't appear that it was in the wrong location. It just was not providing enough pressure to the pinch roller. So making a new one there kind of did it. And I mean, now it's got new belts and everything. So, I mean, this should be good for some time. And I think it will come in handy now for a project I said that, you know, I want to kind of work on here in the future. So, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and reinstall the rest of the screws in the case. And this thing should be fully functional and all buttoned up. And the last screw is going in. And it's all done. No, it's not, because I forgot to put the handle back on. It doesn't fail. Now it's done. There we go. So it's all completed now. All right. So yeah, that was just basically a, thankfully, kind of a quick follow-up video. Getting this thing all done, getting the belts replaced, and finishing up, figuring out what was up with that pinch roller. So looks like we're at 100% now. So that's going to do it for this one. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys around the bench.